Welcome to Community Church Unitarian Universalist. I am Alicia, I'm your worship associate. It is a joy to be with you today. At Community Church, we strive to be a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. You can look to your weekly email for announcements, and also, I think we have a record-breaking number of announcements today. So we have 4 folks who need to come up here and speak, and so we're gonna ask folks to try to be a little bit concise as they can. So first, Emma has an announcement.
This is an announcement for Together New Orleans. So earlier this year, our city council approved a $30 million neighborhood power plan, which will help us reduce outages in the city with backup batteries, which will be paid for by Entergy and not the ratepayers. This Wednesday, on April 15th, they will decide between 2 versions of the plan: Entergy's plan, which would cost households $5,500 up front, and the TNO plan, which would keep it under $550 per household. So what we would like is for as many people as possible who are available and capable to show up to the city council meeting at this Wednesday at 10 a.m. For the Climate Changes and Sustainability Committee. If you have any questions, you can ask myself or Kathy Larimer. And if you cannot make it, you can also make a public comment online on the City Council website ahead of the meeting. Thank you.
We will hear from Marilyn next.
I promise next week I won't be up here telling you about the plant sale. Anyway, this week I have the little sticks for you to write the name of the plant on the stick and the price. If you don't know the name of the plant, that's okay. Just leave it blank. I told you I have a little app that will identify all kinds of plants. Okay. And when you write on the stick, make sure it's with permanent ink. Otherwise, the water will wick up and it'll melt, destroy the blur the thing. Okay, we're gonna be setting up on May 8th, Friday, between 4 and 6, and Saturday morning, just before the sale, between 8 and 10. Anybody that wants to come help is more than welcome, particularly if you know how to tie bows and kind of do little things to dress up the plants. That's it. Thank you.
I'm going to call on Michelle next.
So I'm going to be a little long-winded because today's the second Sunday of the month, which means it's Community Justice Sunday, and I have a few things to talk about. First of all, after the service, we'll have lunch of that yummy Cajun bean soup that everybody likes and that good St. Joseph bread. And followed by, at 12:30, we'll start our social justice film, which is Join or Die. It examines social scientist Robert Putnam's bowling alone theory of how declining community engagement created an American civic crisis. It's a really interesting film. And donations are accepted for lunch. They're not required, but donations cover the cost of our monthly community fridge project, which I'm also going to talk about. The sign-up list for our community fridge project will be in the fellowship hall during lunch today. We're going to be doing it it's always on the 4th Saturday of the month. Last month, it took us 45 minutes to create 60 sandwiches, 40 or so hot meals, and plus some other things, and get it all loaded into everybody's cars that were making deliveries. We had 3 cars making deliveries, so it was just 45 minutes. We're going to do it an hour later this month, so on April 25th at 1:30, because my granddaughter Amelia turns 5 and it's her birthday party that day, so I have to be there. So I'll be a little bit later. This month we're making vegetarian fried rice. I already have 1 cook signed up. I just need 2 more. Super simple recipe, and we provide all the ingredients. I'll bring them all to church next Sunday. Please see Gary Lloyd's message in the newsletter regarding support of Senate Bill 356. It requires 118 petrochemical and chemical facilities in the state to install fence line air monitoring systems. This will notify people much sooner if there is leakage of chemicals, especially these people along Cancer Alley. They'll get a much earlier warning to evacuate, things like that. And finally, our second Sunday collection recipient this morning is Soul New Orleans, and Susanna Burley, who is the founding executive director of Soul, is going to tell us a little bit more about what they do. And any cash donations this morning will go to Soul. If you're donating by text, please indicate whether you're donating for the second Sunday collection, that will go to Soul, or for your regular pledge. So we can keep that straight for Jolie, so we don't drive her crazy. Susanna, would you like to come on up?
Thank you for having me. I'm Susanna Burley. SOUL stands for Sustaining Our Urban Landscape. And one of your members here, Sean Lott, he's not here today, but he's one of our most frequent volunteers. And he recommended us to be the recipient of your second Sunday today. So we're very grateful for that. What we do is we plant trees. We plant entire neighborhoods at a time. And we've just finished our 13,000th tree. So thank you. You may not know this number yet, but we lost 200,000 trees due to Katrina. And so we're trying to rebuild the tree canopy here, and doing it neighborhood by neighborhood seems to be the most efficient way. We've replanted all of the lower 9th Ward, all of Pontchartrain Park, all of Gentilly Woods, and Old Algiers Riverview. So we plant in the most under-represented, under-resourced communities, and most of these are majority people of color, and were historically redlined. Here in New Orleans, we have 18% of our city is covered by tree canopy, whereas Atlanta is covered by 48%, Charleston is 63%, and Savannah is 44%. So this is egregiously low. And the reason it matters is because our live oak, for example, which is down St. Charles and along this road here, those drink about 1,000 gallons of stormwater per day when it's raining. And when we strategically plant entire neighborhoods at a time, we can really mitigate millions of gallons of stormwater runoff and flooding. We can reduce air pollution. We can lower the temperature because we have issues with extreme heat here and air pollution. We started planting Littlewoods this year, and about 80% of the population 18 and up has some sort of respiratory illness, like frequently get RSV or have asthma. That's because they don't have trees over there filtering the air, and there's a lot of industry polluting. So that's really the focus of our work, is to mitigate these issues. And we say that trees are barometers of health and wealth, and you see trees in neighborhoods that have concentrated wealth, and you see, and those areas also have better health because you have cooler streets where people go outside and exercise, you have cleaner air, etc. So that's why we focus on the areas that have the least amount of trees, and we can do work on a couple of neighborhoods at a time. It can take up to 4 or 5 years to plant an entire neighborhood. And so your donations today will go to this work in the most under-treated neighborhoods, underrepresented neighborhoods. So we're really grateful, all of the staff, to you and to Sean for thinking of us for this donation. Thank you.
And then one final announcement. Robert, would you like to make the announcement, or would you? Yeah.
Good morning. There is a group called the Greater New Orleans Interfaith Climate Coalition, and our goal is to educate the public on the reality of pollution and climate change, especially since our governments, neither one of them seem to want to believe in that. So we want to do it from the point of view of human beings being a part of nature. Human beings are a part of nature. And in line with that, we're having a service here in this chapel next Sunday night at 6 o'clock. So you're all welcome. We'd like to see so many people that we would fill the entire chapel. We're also going to live stream it so that the entire state may participate. I hope to see you.
So now it is finally time to introduce our esteemed, very esteemed speaker for this morning, which is Mr. Bill Quigley. Mr. Quigley has been a civil and human rights lawyer for nearly 50 years. He taught law and poverty at Loyola Law for 30 years while directing the clinical programs in the Poverty Law Center. He has represented numerous social justice organizations in cases across the country, and we are just so delighted to have him back with us at CCUU today, and we'll be hearing from him later. And we would also like to welcome any new and returning visitors today. We hope you will stay after the service for all the wonderful things that Michelle mentioned. And in the spirit of fellowship, please turn to your neighbors, especially maybe the ones that you do not know yet. Say hello and ask them how their day is going. And now our call to worship comes from Barbara Wells. O spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. It is our ritual to light a chalice invoking hope and eternal truth to our worship. Please join us in singing the words of the chalice lighting, which are in your order of service.
And the fire of hope that will
And our first reading this morning comes from the Reverend Sophia Betancourt, who you are probably aware is our Reverend of the UUA, president of the UUA, and she was arrested back in January at the Capitol in protest of the proposed DHS budget, Department of Homeland Security budget. These were the remarks that she issued following her protest. Beloveds, I am a proud daughter of immigrants and have experienced up close what it means to believe in a United States that takes pride in being a nation of immigrants and insists on the sacredness of all people. The breach of that foundational story and the targeting of our immigrant neighbors sounds a clarion call to condemn the ongoing violence and violation of basic human rights. As an Afro-Latina woman born in this country, I am also aware that the violence we are seeing directed today at Black and Brown communities and queer and immigrant communities, already made vulnerable by systematic oppression, is yet another foundational story of this nation. From slave patrols in the past to ICE and DHS targeting our neighbors, all people of faith and conscience must resist the structures of empire, fascism, and tyranny that called us here today. We are faithfully following the leadership of those who are giving everything they have to protect their neighbors, and we will do everything in our power to end the desecration and to restore the soul of this nation. We must defund ICE. Unitarian Universalists believe in the values of pluralism, interdependence, justice, and generosity as matters of religious faith. We hold sacred the belief that love lies at the center of all that we do. Recent events have torn apart families and terrorized already vulnerable communities and killed individuals doing nothing more than protecting their neighbors. They not only violate basic human decency, but they are also an affront to the values that all people of faith and conscience hold sacred. I am here today with my siblings of many faith traditions because we know that budgets are moral documents. There is no moral justification for voting for a budget that will put more resources towards the violation and dehumanization of our neighbors. As religious leaders, we have an ethical obligation to show up and say that this will not be done in our name. We will not fund the persecution of our immigrant neighbors, the slaughter of innocent protesters, nor the further traumatization of our children. We call for an immediate stop to all ICE activity and for full transparency and immediate accountability for all those involved in recent killings and their supervisors. To our beloveds, so many who are in harm's way, we will not forsake you. We are here with you in the name of all that we hold holy until the very end. May you be held safe and whole until that day. So now is our sacred time of joys and sorrows. If you're online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comment section to be read out loud. And in person, you may write them down on one of the cards that is being passed out by our greeters. You may remain seated for our next hymn, which is number 315, This Old World.
It
a joy for excitement and a new lease on life, and a sorrow for anxiety. It's very relatable. From Liz Rosa Diaz, the Honduran woman whose family this church has supported over the last 7 years, is in need of $500 to pay the attorney to submit asylum paperwork for her 4 children. She apologizes for the quick ask, but she needs the money for her appointment on Tuesday. So please see Liz if you're able to help. Thank you. From Gypsy, I have a house under contract in Bywater, a joy, but good. Oh, send good vibes for inspection on Tuesday, please. Absolutely. From Kathy, a joy to announce the birth of my 2nd granddaughter, Maddie. From Jim Harlan, a joy that the Artemis II mission that depended on the Michoud facility in New Orleans was so successfully completed. And a sorrow that the nation's resources and technologies are being so destructively applied unnecessarily in the Middle East. From Liz L., a joy to see my mother celebrate her 73rd birthday tomorrow. Her strength is an inspiration. A small sorrow that I cannot be with her, but I will see her soon. And a sorrow for all of those experiencing unnecessary fear and despair. From Brad, a sorrow and a joy. 2 of my dearest cousins, Kathy Russell and Kathleen Kennedy, died after extended illnesses, but a joy that I was part of their lives. And from Vincent, the joy of music. Even in the hardest times, putting on our favorite song never made things worse. So we will light 2 more candles, one for the joys still arising, too new to share, and one for the sorrows that we cannot yet put into words. So again, one for the joys, one for the sorrows. And let us now pause for a moment of silence, recognizing the joys and sorrows that still remain unspoken in this community. Our second reading today comes from Christopher Heffron. And he begins with a quote from Leviticus. "You shall treat the alien that resides with you no differently than the natives born among you. You shall love the alien as yourself, for you too were once aliens in the land of Egypt. I, the Lord, am your God." And then Heffron writes, "The sun above the San Diego-Tijuana border is aggressive, even for a mild January morning. The sunlight in this part of the country weighs on my shoulders differently somehow, like a jacket I can't take off. But even on this pristine day, I'm immediately confronted by it, the fence. It's an imposing structure by design. The rust-colored fence is lined with mesh and coiled barbed wire that stretches some 700 miles along the 2,000-mile border between our two countries. From this pilgrim's perspective, I'm dwarfed by it. It's so tall it blocks the sky. According to the UN Refugee Agency, more than 117 million people will be displaced from their home countries this year alone. Citizens without a state to call home. Many will traverse dangerous waters or deserts to the United States and beyond for a better life. As they escape torture or other human rights violations, it's hard for me not to compare asylum seekers with the Holy Family's escape into Egypt. The parallels are just too real to ignore. As I walk this route, I spot a pregnant woman pushing a toddler in a stroller. She stops to answer a phone call and begins to rub her lower back. I think about Mary and her flight in the desert, carrying a newborn in her arms and in distress. How did she manage? How did Joseph calm her fears? I can't fathom the difficulties of their journey, the biting chill of the desert night, how each mile brought uncertainty. It takes grit to cross a border for better life, irrespective of laws. This is a reality to which I simply cannot relate. A report by the United Nations showed that there are some 157,000 asylum seekers in Mexico. Idalia Herrera Hernandez and her 21-month-old son, Iker Gael Cordova Herrera, were among them. When they were deported from the United States in 2019 because of DHS's Remain in Mexico program, which requires asylum seekers to stay in Mexico until their immigration court date, Idalia spent weeks toggling between sleeping on the streets and in halfway houses in Matamoros with her son. Looking to join her husband Elmer in North Carolina, a desperate Idalia could no longer wait. She and Iker crossed the Rio Grande into Texas and drowned in their attempt. According to Homeland Security, 750 migrants died that year from heat stroke, dehydration, hypothermia, or drowning. That story has stayed with me since I learned of it, and I keep thinking about Idalia and her son on this walk. Every step I take is within eyeshot of that border fence. Wherever you go, there it is. It stretches into the Pacific Ocean. How many people have drowned while attempting to swim around it? If I were desperate for a life better than the one I have now, could I do the same? At a weekly general audience in December 2021, Pope Francis likened the plight of asylum seekers to the struggle of the Holy Family. Herod is a symbol of many tyrants of yesterday and today, he wrote. For these tyrants, people don't matter. Power matters. He then gave us a simple call to action. Protect all of those who flee because of war, hatred, and hunger. No one must be excluded. God's plan is essentially inclusive and gives priority to those living on the existential peripheries. Among them are many migrants and refugees, displaced persons, and victims of trafficking, he wrote. The kingdom of God is to be built with them. For without them, it would not be the kingdom that God wants.
Good morning. My name is Bill Quigley, and I recognize quite a number of people in this church from other activities, and it's great to be back. I want to start by saying how beautiful the song was that you started with. It was really so appropriate and such a good message of what we are challenged by. As I said in the bulletin, the title of these remarks is Safeguarding the Stranger, What is Our Duty? And that comes from the an action by the Unitarian Universalist Church in February, where they signed an amicus brief to the U.S. Supreme Court on one of the many issues of immigration that the court is looking at, and says, as all who sign it make safeguarding the stranger a core component of faith, a duty obligatory not just upon the individual, but society as a whole. And I want to make a couple of points about our individual responsibility and about our social responsibility. First, I want to just share a very brief story in line with some of the other things we've talked about. Within the last couple of months, squad cars pulled up to a trailer park in Lakeland, Florida around midnight. Inside, Doris Flores tried to calm her 4-month-old child and her 8-year-old child, Brianna. Her pastor and his wife agreed to take the children. Otherwise, the children would be sent to foster care. As the mom sobbed, the officers put her in handcuffs, took her outside, and escorted her, nice word, escorted her to ICE prison. This action, which we all have children, we all been children, we all have families who've been families in that. This happens 50 times a day in the United States, where people are separated from their moms. The kids are U.S. citizens, separated from their moms because of immigration rules. So, safeguarding the stranger, what is our duty? I was going to start with this same quote that the reflection was, which was this message from Moses, so supposed to be 1400 BC, who knows, how the Bible goes, but it says, when a stranger travels in your land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who visits with you as a native among you, and you shall love her as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. That's 1400 BC. One of the highest moral commandments of all Judaism is to welcome and protect the stranger. This command is repeated 36 times in the Torah, and all the Psalms, Jeremiah, etc., all repeat this again and again and again. Louisiana has 8 ICE prisons in our state. We also have 1 staging facility. That's where people are brought from across the country and flown out and deported to another country. Our 8 ICE prisons make us the second highest place of imprisoning immigrants in the United States. Second only to Texas. Texas has more prisoners, but they have a lot less people than we have. They have a lot more people than we have in Louisiana. So if you do the proportionally, we are way above the number 1 place that imprisons immigrants in the United States, in Louisiana. Alexandria actually has had more people go through it than any prison in the country. They had 40,000 people last year. They are like a FedEx hub for deporting people. I've taught at Loyola Law School. We have an immigration clinic, and a couple of days don't go by before lawyers across the country call and say, I was visiting with my friend, my client in Poughkeepsie, and went back on Monday, and they said, she's gone. And she's in Louisiana somewhere. They're preparing to deport her. And they're bringing people from all over the country to Louisiana to deport them out of Alexandria. Second point, and one thing I would, as just an aside, I sent a copy of these remarks to Alicia, and has links to all the facts in it if you like to know the facts or you want to be able to spread the word on that. And so she can give you copies of that, or email those to you. Second point, and I have 7 points, so it seemed right to have 7 points in church, don't you think? In Christianity, welcoming the stranger is essential moral command. Remember the story of the divine on the day of judgment, who decides who is going into the kingdom of heaven and who is not. And those who are not, he tells them, well, I'm not sending you in because I was hungry and you didn't give me something to eat. And I was thirsty and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger and you did not invite me in or care for me. I needed clothes and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me. And they will respond, well, when did that happen? We didn't see you, you know? And he said, well, I tell you, whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me. So that's part of our duty and part of our idea of what it means to participate in the kingdom of heaven. A year ago, 37,000 people were in ICE prisons in the United States. 1 year ago, we're not talking ancient history. Today, there's 70,000 people in ICE prisons in the United States, and expected to be doubled by next year because they have spent billions and billions of dollars to create warehouses to put people in after they're arrested. ICE is now the highest funded law enforcement agency in the nation, by far. The private prisons that are doing a lot of this work, they are getting returns on for each year since our current president has been in office of 100% stock increase. Third point, like Judaism and Christianity, Islam instructs its followers to safeguard our strangers in our midst. As the Prophet Muhammad taught, whoever grants respite to someone in difficulty, relieves her, Allah will shade her on the day of resurrection when there is no shade but Allah's. And I think an important point for all of us too is that this is not a Trump issue alone, right? That Biden and Obama deported or removed millions of people as well. This is a United States issue. Obama deported or removed over 5 million people in his 8 years. Biden over 4 million people in his 4 years. Trump did a couple of million in his first term and he's clearly wants to be the number one in terms of turning people away and imprisoning people. Fourth point is our country has a profoundly mixed record when it comes to welcoming strangers. George Washington has a beautiful quote that he hoped that that this land might become a safe and agreeable asylum to the virtuous and persecuted part of mankind, to whatever nation they might belong. That's a quote from the amicus brief filed by the the amicus briefs that I talked about earlier. Our country, though, clearly was not welcoming to the people who were already here when it was settled, clearly not welcoming to the slaves that we imported by the millions and abused by the millions. Under the current president, more than half of the detained fathers of American kids, about 3/4 of the mother, had no criminal convictions in the United States. They're not the worst of the worst. They're not a threat to people. They were not legally in the United States, and that's what the response has been. Fifth point is religious communities have taken a leadership role in helping the strangers over time. Although our religious communities have done terrible things as well, as we well know, we've supported slaveholders and many other things. Even at the same time that some of our churches supported slaveholders, churches participated in the Underground Railroad, where they put the church and individuals at risk of imprisonment or worse for standing up for the human rights of people. And we have similar resettlement of persecuted Cubans, Hungarians, Vietnamese, thousands of people from Central America. And as pointed out earlier, the deaths in ICE custody are very, very high, and the deaths of people trying to get into the United States are very, very high. Sixth point is, this is not just a United States problem, as was mentioned in one of the earlier reflections. In the year 2000, there were 38 million people who were forcibly displaced from their country. 38 million, which is a ton of people, right? Now, 123 million people are displaced, which is 1% of the world's population, essentially population of the entire country of Japan. All over the world, people are displaced. And we cannot forget Europe is having tremendous immigration and displacement and settlement and neighborly problems. The vast majority of the people seeking asylum in Europe come from Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria. And what do those mean to us in the United States? Those are the places that we led or were partners in gigantic wars that displaced millions and millions of people. And we're doing that again today, literally today, right? The people in Lebanon, people in Iran. Seventh and final point is action. Samuel Beckett wrote this play, Waiting for Godot, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's really pretty hard to understand sometimes, very theoretical, but he has a point in there. Let us do something while we have a chance. Let us do something while we have a chance. It is not every day that we are needed, not indeed that we personally are needed. Others might meet the cause clearly as well, but they're calling for us. We are needed. So 10 action ideas of how we might respond to the need and be part of our duty. First, I think, is to continuously educate and re-educate ourselves. There is a tendency, I think, in all of us to turn away when the bad stuff comes on our phones or on our screens or on our podcasts, that we don't want to hear about that anymore. That's just too bad. It's too much suffering. But that's the way we have. A lot of people don't have that opportunity. And if we truly have a duty to our sisters and brothers, then we have to continually expose ourselves to the tough things that are going on in the world. But part of that is also that we have to expose ourselves and remind ourselves of the beautiful and hopeful things that are going on in this world. And this church is one of those things. And the people who are in this church and the churches across the country have responded and show us great examples of what to do. Second point of the action points is to join a community. In addition to your church, and I know there's several people in the room who are active in the group Union Migrante or active in the group Southeast Dignity, Not Detention. Those are two groups in New Orleans that are actively trying to assist our sisters and brothers who are here. And they do it in various ways, from everything from alerting when ICE is in a neighborhood, to adopting families, to trying to help transport kids to school. You know, when we had the surge of ICE enforcement here recently, ICE, some people were telling me, ICE, I can't send my child to school. And I said, well, I hadn't heard any reports that ICE were in the schools. They said, well, they're not in the schools. They're at the bus stops. And so that people are afraid to bring their child to the bus stop. And so that's a role that we can play, and many of us do play, where we'll actually pick somebody's child up at home, bring them to the bus stop, make sure they get on the bus to school, and do that in reverse as well. I know that people in this community have written letters to the editor. We have to just keep reminding, and it's not just the Advocate. There's so many places that we can do it. And a key point, I think, is to amplify immigrant voices. I studied to be a Catholic priest for a while. I didn't become a priest. But one of my things in growing up was that we are called to be a voice for the voiceless. That was one of the definitions of social justice. And a community organizer that I was friends with, I was giving a talk about this in my early 30s, and he pulled me aside after and he said, Bill, you know, there really aren't that many voiceless people out there. It's that people don't listen, or their voices are not heard because other people are shouting, or they're not given a chance to be at the microphone. And so our job, if we really believe not just in individual justice and individual kindness in that, but structural justice, is to make sure that the voices of the immigrant community are heard. And that may mean quieting down some of the other people or interrupting some of the other people to be able to have their voices heard. There are volunteers who go and accompany people to ICE check-ins, because you know so many people in this country have to do that. And there's a lot of people who get picked up at ICE check-ins and don't ever come out. And the understanding is that if they are accompanied and they know that people are waiting outside, it does help them a little bit to be able to not be afraid of being picked up and sent to prison just from a check-in. There's also volunteers who go to ICE court and sit in and watch to see how the judges are treating the people who are applying for asylum and the like. The paper today announced that the current administration fired, I think, 8 immigration judges on Friday afternoon. One who was in the middle of court, the middle of a hearing, and they came and said, "You're out, you're finished." And their crime for those judges was that they were allowing asylum applicants to stay in the country at a rate more than 18%, their overall docket. The immigration judges are part of the executive branch of the government, so they can be hired and fired at the whim of the executive branch. Protest is one thing that people can do. I recognize several of you in here from protests, so that's great. And in terms of international things, I think to join an international organization, whether it's Doctors Without Borders or a religious organization or the International Refugee Assistance Project, donating money is an important way that we can help. And to join our spirits with our sister and brother immigrants, whether that's in prayer or solidarity or presence, that's very important. So in conclusion, how shall we answer when the time comes that people ask? And I don't think this is just the end of times, you know. I don't think that question is just going to come at the end of the times. I think maybe our grandchildren might say to us, you know, well, in the 2000s when Trump was president and they did all this stuff and they were just taking people off the street and breaking up families and doing all that. What did you do, Dad, Grandpa? What did you and Grandma do? What did you do? All this was happening. Did you do something? What did you do? And so I think that's the challenge for all of us. How do we answer the question, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick in prison did not help you? Whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me. So I think that's the challenge for all of us. Thank you.
Community Church is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends' generosity help us do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online, by text, or in person this morning. You can see the information on the back of your order of service for giving by text. And please remember that our collection this morning will go to Soul. And our hymn, you may remain seated, is number 318, We Would Be One.
As
Our benediction comes from Craig Rowland. When we extinguish this flame, may we carry its warmth into the world, not as a memory, but as a promise. A promise that you deserve a place where your voice matters, where your laughter is treasured, and your silence is honored. You deserve a circle that sees your scars and your strength, your doubts and your radiance, and holds them all with care. Let us be that circle for one another, a community of fierce welcome, wild grace, and radical hope. Go knowing that you belong here. You always have. You may rise for our closing hymn, which is 220. Bring out the festal bread, and after that, you may remain seated while we extinguish the chalice together. I'm sorry, remain standing. That's what I meant to say. Oh, that song's a workout. So please extinguish our chalice with me. We extinguish this chalice here that it might. Please join us across the hallway in the fellowship hall. Thank you.
to get drum lessons. He wanted to come see the drums.
Play drums? Let's go.